All right, so we just tried to pull a shot and it was not flowing through quickly enough. That means your grinder is probably set too fine. The coffee is ground too fine, too powdery, so the water can't get through it. So I'm gonna show you how to adjust the grinder here. Come in real close. Basically this hopper will spin when you push down this button. And notice this says go this direction to make it more fine. Notice the black marks come down, it's trying to indicate that you get smaller particles here, larger particles this direction. So more fine, more coarse. So we want to actually make it more coarse. We want the water to flow through a little more quickly. So we need it to be more like gravel than sand, is the analogy I sometimes use. So press this down. Whenever you make adjustments here, think of this guy right here being your center point and just moving it. You can see little graduated marks on here. You want to just barely make adjustments, not much. So I'm going to barely turn it like, I don't know if that was 3 or 4 millimeters, really. I turned it. Once you make that adjustment, go ahead and grind some coffee through. So grind coffee for 4 or 5 seconds to get rid of your old particle size. So now we should have the freshly ground coffee coming through at the new setting. So let's try this again. I'm gonna get rid of that. So I'm gonna dump out that old puck. I've got my portafilter towel here. I'm gonna clean this out. Sometimes I would rinse that out with water first, but really you're looking for this to be dry, is actually the priority. So now that it's dry, I'm gonna weigh this, tear it to 0. And again, you don't have to do this every time, but occasionally it's nice to be able to calibrate, make sure that you're dosing the right amount of espresso. Start this. Now this grinder wants to kind of slide as you're using it. So you can put a rubber mat down to keep that from happening, or just kind of push it. I'm pushing with this finger to hold it into place. 2 taps. Push the excess back off into the doser and wipe off your little ears here on the portafilter. Now we're gonna tamp this. I'm gonna tamp it a little bit lighter than I did last time. So bend my knees, lean into it, 20 pounds of pressure. Then give it a little spin. You wanna be sure you're not applying pressure when you give that spin, because you don't wanna dig down or press and add extra lines or divots. Okay, we're gonna wipe that off, wipe this off, and let's weigh this again. 20 grams, perfect. We're ready to come over here. Again, just for 2 or 3 seconds, I'll flush some water through the group head. You probably couldn't see that, but it rinses it off. It gets the temperature stable again. Move the steam on out of the way. So gently engage this. If you bump this around too much, you can actually crack the bed of coffee and create channels. Tighten that up. We're gonna pull this shot again, see what happens. Hit your double shot button. Again, first 4 to 6 seconds, you shouldn't see anything, but eventually you'll see a couple of drips. You can hear the machine has gotten quiet. It's working hard to try to push the water through at this high pressure. 9 bars of atmospheric pressure. Now we're starting to get an actual flow here. It's still kind of drippy, so this grind might still be a little too fine. This is going to be what we call a long shot. It's just taking a little bit too long to extract. So I'm going to make another grinder adjustment. Again, we're looking for 20 grams of espresso, and when you pull a shot, it should take 30 to 35 seconds to yield about 2 ounces. 1.5 to 2 ounces of espresso, and that is a double shot of espresso. So this one is taking too long, but just for this video and demonstration purposes, it's probably good enough to show you what to do here. Now notice these buttons. You've got a single shot button and a double shot button, and we're going to be using pretty much the double shot button all the time. And when you're done, when the shot is at the volume that you want, we're just going to hit the stop button to stop the extraction. I think there is a way to program these buttons to deliver a certain volume of water, but you might be able to look that up on YouTube or something if you want to program this machine. I don't remember all the functionality of this. But there we go. There's a double shot of espresso with a nice crema. The creamy foamy layer on top is called the crema. You can add a little hot water to this to get an Americano, but right here we have the espresso. Steam a little milk hidden here for the espresso macchiato, or I'll show you next how to steam milk to make a cappuccino or a latte.